What is Michigan going to do at quarterback to try and salvage this season? I think it's Tuttle time, as in Jack Tuttle. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked on Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, that's on YouTube, so check it out there as well. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this show is brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. That's Head Coach. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that's completely free with no ads and 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. It could be Tuttle time in Ann Arbor. We have Big Ten news and our power rankings. I'm mixing it up a little bit. I'll have that for you at the end, so hang tight, see where your favorite team is. It might be time for Michigan football coach Sherrone Moore to name Jack Tuttle as the team's starting quarterback. Hear me out. I mean, does Michigan fan remember the good old days when everyone just knew JJ McCarthy was going to play quarterback? Didn't have to worry about it. No decision to make. There was no quarterback battle at camp. Jim Harbaugh was so comfortable with JJ McCarthy, they told quarterback Cade McNamara, who helped them get to 2 straight Big Ten titles and the college football playoffs 2 years in a row, to hit the bricks. And he ended up at Iowa because JJ McCarthy was taken over from there, and the rest was history. All right. Now, the Michigan staff is in a lot different position. Actually, it's a different Michigan staff. And they're begging for anyone to step up, just take the reins of that offense at the quarterback position. Many thought that the wind was blowing toward Sherrone Moore naming Alex Orji the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, but to many people's surprise, it was Davis Warren that was named the starter just ahead of the season opener against Fresno State. And again, last week against Texas. But the Michigan offense has woefully underperformed with Warren at the helm, even though I even thought he was the best quarterback from what I saw in the spring game and what I had seen in a limited fashion with Alex Orji in the past. Although, to be fair, all 5 offensive linemen in front of him are new. They're trying to figure things out. That position takes the most time to get some cohesiveness going. The running game is meager. The Wolverines rushed for just 80 yards during the Texas game as a team. I mean, Blake Corum used to do that by himself at the half. There's no vertical threat with any of the Wolverines receivers. They've become very predictable and defendable when they're on offense. So what about a change of pace quarterback? Well, that was supposed to be Alex Orji, both last year with JJ McCarthy and so far this year behind Warren. But they don't use him that much. And look, he's not that great of a passer. And when he comes in, everybody in the building knows that Michigan's running the ball. He ran twice against Texas for a -1 yard. They knew it was coming. They stopped it. Again, they became very predictable on offense and very easy to defend by Texas. So maybe Sherrone Moore should give 7-year player Jack Tuttle the starting gig as soon as possible. Now, he's been healing from an undisclosed injury, although he hurt his elbow last year. That's what we think's going on. Michigan's been very tight-lipped about the exact injury or the timetable for Tuttle's return. Now, he's not going to be able to turn things around all by himself just by showing up. All right. He's just not that kind of player. He's an experienced guy. He's steady. But he's not that explosive guy that's going to take a whole team on his back and all of a sudden Michigan's going to be awesome again. There are many things on this Michigan football team that need to be fixed at once. But the fire is out and the team needs a spark. Something. So maybe Tuttle. Now, some critics will suggest that Tuttle isn't very good. After all, he's now in his 7th season as a college football quarterback, and he's pretty much been a career college quarterback backup. In all fairness, he was backing up guys like Michael Penix Jr. at Indiana and JJ McCarthy at Michigan. Both were top 10 picks in the NFL draft. So maybe now is his time to shine. There was one school of thought, and we discussed it here on Locked On Big Ten, that going into the season, remember, Sherrone Moore waited forever to name a starting quarterback before the Fresno State game. We thought Sherrone was, enjoying being a head coach for the first time and being a little bit coy on his decision. But there was also the story and the possibility out there that he was waiting and waiting because they were seeing if Jack Tuttle was going to heal up in time and be ready to go because he was supposed to be the starter. Maybe. Well, maybe we'll never know unless Sherrone Moore comes out and says that. And it's pretty hard to tell because Sherrone Moore's pretty tight-lipped on such things. However, in his weekly press conference this week, Moore talked about Tuttle. He was asked about him. And he said his health has improved enough that he's going to be throwing a lot more this week as we speak. So we speculate that perhaps his return may be imminent on the football field. Now, he was inactive for week 1 against Fresno State, but he did suit up for the Texas game. He just didn't play. Coach Moore said that Tuttle is throwing more and more this week and looks like he'll be ready to go. Those were his words, ready to go. Does that mean starting quarterback? Does it mean playing a lot? Does that mean come in a little bit? We don't know. We'll find out soon enough. But here's what I think is going to happen. Michigan obviously looks to rebound and get back to its winning ways. They host a Sun Belt school in Arkansas State at noon on the Big Ten Network. Michigan's a 3-touchdown favorite in this game. It should probably be a little bit more, but you never know. I think Warren still starts at quarterback here. And hopefully Michigan gets a big lead and that Sherrone Moore will let Tuttle come in against a lesser team with a lead and shake some rust off. So I would expect, and I would like, as a Michigan fan would like to see him play out there this weekend and get a little bit of action. And once he does shake off the rust, and depending on how Warren and the rest of the offense does, maybe a starting assignment, maybe in Tuttle's future. Now, looking ahead of the schedule, when would that be? When would be a good time? Well, following the Arkansas State game, the rising USC Trojans, who look like they could be trouble, come to Ann Arbor for a big game. And then a beatable Minnesota team comes to the big house before the Wolverines hit the road for a rematch against the national championship runner-up, Washington Huskies, who they look all right. Washington and Michigan were very similar in that they played in the national championship game last year. And then all of a sudden they lost all their players to the pros. They switched coaches. They had a lot of similarities. So, and Michigan's going out there at their place to play. By then, hopefully Michigan's got its quarterback situation figured out, its running game figured out, its offensive line figured out, and its secondary figured out. They got a lot of things. Look, they're good at defensive line, and their kicking game is good. That's good. Everything else, massive improvement is needed. Again, maybe a change of quarterback will help with Jack Tuttle. Throwing it out there, want to discuss it. I know I'll get comments from you guys either on Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten. Don't forget comments on YouTube. The more back and forth you get going on there, the better it is for this podcast. We always like that. By the way, you know what else is good for this podcast? If you don't mind, subscribe. Just click the little subscribe button, and that's all you need to do. If you're watching on video on YouTube, it's for free forever. There's no other information required. And then you and I are in the Big Ten loop together each and every day. I also ask you to subscribe and then share. Share it with a friend out there that you know. Hey, I got a friend who loves the Big Ten. He's a Big Ten alum. Probably like this podcast. Doesn't even know it's out here every day. Subscribe and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten for free. Wherever you get your podcast, that way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Thank you very much for that. By the way, quick programming note. We're going to go live. You know, we go live on our YouTube channel, our Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel right here every Saturday after the main game, whatever we want to follow up. We've had tremendous success. Thank you. We went live right after the Fresno, Michigan game. We went live after the Colorado, Nebraska game. You guys have been great. Huge numbers. Thank you very much for that. We are going to go live again after the NBC primetime Big Ten game Saturday night, which this week is Indiana at the Rose Bowl taking on UCLA. So as soon as that game is over, probably around 10:45, 11 o'clock Eastern time, around 8 o'clock Pacific. We're going to go live. We're going to talk about that game, and we're going to talk about all the other games in between throughout the day, including Wisconsin hosting Alabama. We'll see how that goes. All that right here immediately following that late game on NBC. Speaking of the Badgers, big penalty ahead of the Alabama game. That's not good. It's all next right here on Locked On Big Ten as we continue to get you ready for Week 3. I'll tell you about Ultimate College Football head coach, Ultimate Football HC, as it were. This is a fun game. This is cool. This gets you really involved. You get to pretend you're a coach of your favorite Big Ten team, and it's called Ultimate College Football HC. It's a simulation. It's a game, and you can step into the shoes of a head coach, lead your favorite college team to glory, and you can handle recruiting players, hire your coaching staff, call plays, hand out scholarships. Every crucial detail to your program is in your hands. See how you do. Everybody loves this game. It's Ultimate College Football HC, completely free, no ads, 100% playable offline, and you can play on the go and play whatever you want to do, whenever you want to play it. So we got a special offer for you right here. So for all Locked On Big Ten fans, use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive your free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk, and it'll get your team off to a strong, strong start. To download it, just go to ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, and look it up in the app stores as well. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Game Time is where you can get tickets to games. You want to go to a Big Ten game? Get the Game Time app on your phone. It makes it so easy to get tickets. And it's not just games, by the way. It's games, it's theater, it's concerts, it's comedy shows, all in your local neighborhood. If it needs a ticket, you can get it on Game Time right there on your phone with the app. And it is fantastic. Of course, you can have a view from your seat right there on the phone before you buy the ticket. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Boom, bar none. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time or Big Ten football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe, share, follow, and like. Subscribe on YouTube, and it's all right there. Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And then don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts and all of our school merchandise right there. Now, I mentioned the Wisconsin Badgers earlier. Big game at Camp Randall. This is going to be exciting atmosphere. It's going to be great. They host Alabama on Saturday. They will be without their senior linebacker, Jake Chaney. He was flagged for targeting during the third quarter of the Badgers' 27-13 win over South Dakota on Saturday at Camp Randall. As you know, any targeting penalty comes with an automatic ejection, and if it occurs in the second half of a game, the penalized player has to sit out for the first half of the following game. A lot of people don't like that part of the rule, but that means the Badgers' second leading tackler is going to miss the first half against Alabama when they need him. Badgers head coach Luke Fickell, not a fan of tossing kids from games no matter what the penalty is. Just give them the penalty, but don't kick them out. Kind of agree with him on that. Chaney's hit, by the way, was not head-to-head. He lowered his head, crown of the helmet, into the stomach of another player. You don't see that called very often, but it was. Hey, some kudos to a bunch of players around the Big Ten. All right, first of all, player of the week, offensive player of the week. Rutgers running back, Kyle Monangai. We always love talking about him. Leading rusher last year, off to a great start this year. In week 1, he tied a career high with 165 yards versus Howard. He followed up with 208 yards against Akron and scored 3 touchdowns in that game. The second his third touchdown game rushing of his career. Had a 62-yard run as well for a touchdown. He's got 373 yards in 2 games. He's yet to play the fourth quarter, and he's still racking up these yards because it's a wrap. These games are done. He's sitting on the bench, staying healthy. 373 yards in about 6 quarters. Defense got the Illinois Fighting Illini an upset win over number 19 Kansas, and Illinois corner Xavier Scott is the conference's defensive player of the week. He had 3 turnovers, caused 3 turnovers in that game, including 2 interceptions. Second one was a pick 6 that put Illinois on top 13-10 before the half. And then he had a strip sack on the final play of the game, wrapping it up. It's pretty good. Oh, and he had 8 solo tackles in the game. Congratulations to him. Special teams player of the week in the Big Ten, Oregon superstar wide receiver Tez Johnson ran a punt back 85 yards for a touchdown versus Boise State. Gave him a 27-20 lead in the third. Became the first Duck to return a punt for a score since 2018. And a shout out to the Big Ten freshman of the week, Michigan State wide receiver, Nick Marsh. He's a true freshman. And the previous week, he had just 1 catch against Florida Atlantic. All right, welcome to Big Ten football. But versus Maryland, this past weekend, he hauled in 8 passes for 194 yards and a touchdown in the 27-24 win. Great job. Great second game. His 77-yard touchdown tied the game with less than 5 minutes to go. So from the greats to the not so great, Northwestern has 0 touchdown passes this season so far. Now, maybe that's not a surprise, as expecting starting quarterback Brandon Sullivan surprisingly transferred to Iowa right after spring ball, kind of put Northwestern in a bind. After 2 games, head coach David Braun is making a change at starting quarterback. Jack Lausch gets the starting gig this week versus Eastern Illinois. He will replace Mike Wright, who had a hard time against Duke on Friday night. I saw some of the game. He was 19 of 35 for 156 yards and an interception, nearly threw several more interceptions. Now, granted, there was a 25-mile-an-hour wind coming off Lake Michigan right there next to the stadium on campus. But Northwestern is one of 5 FBS teams without a touchdown pass this season. We got to fix it. So, got to make a change at quarterback. All right. I think we have a little bit of a shakeup on our list. Every Wednesday, we always do our Big Ten power rankings of the football standings, how we think they should be. See what we did here. That's all coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel, let me tell you about it. Sports are fun, but they're even more fun with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Got a little something different for you here. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Pretty good deal. So then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime if you want. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. By the way, tonight, I like the Pirates over the Marlins, the Mets over the Blue Jays. Take the over in the Rockies-Tigers game. Twins over the Angels and O's over the Red Sox. FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's take a look now at our power rankings. We update these each and every week. They are our own. Always take your opinion on the comments on these. I'm going to put them on screen. If you are on audio only, I will describe them for you in detail. Here they are. All right. Ohio State is a slam dunk. #1. They are on cruise control right now. We thought that it was Ohio State and Oregon and then everybody else. I don't know about Oregon yet. They're still good. Don't get me wrong. They got to figure out some things. So we're trying to figure out who the second tier, the next team is that can fight with Ohio State. Ohio State just blowing out people. A 56-0 win over Western Michigan. They got Marshall next week. We're going to put the USC Trojans all the way up to #2. I did not see this coming, but I liked what I saw against LSU. and they threw a shutout against Utah State. I know it was a Utah State, but I mean, a shutout, even against lesser teams, is hard to not give up a field goal or something. Shut them out. Trojans ranked number 11 in the country. So between the LSU win and the shutout last week, I think they're on the rise. So fight on, Trojan fans. What do you think about that? Number 2, I only have the Oregon Ducks falling one spot. Number 3, again, they're 2-0. They're 0-2 ATS. They're supposed to be blowing teams out. They're not. They're barely beating them. Idaho, Boise State. Look, Dylan Gabriel, his stats are still fine. There's still things happening here. They're not putting together long drives. They've got penalties. And they got some things to work on here. So Oregon only drops 1. He's still in the top 3. Penn State at number 4, despite the scare from Bowling Green. Penn State was down by a couple scores and down in a lot of this ball game for their home opener against Bowling Green after such an impressive outing against West Virginia the week before on the road. Another team on the rise. I love Nebraska. Love watching Dylan Raiola, the quarterback. Love watching that atmosphere in Lincoln. Love watching that atmosphere against Coach Prime and Dion on Saturday night. That was fun. Nebraska football looks like it's back. Now, with the big lead, they got a little sloppy in the second half. In fact, they didn't score in the second half, and they had a bunch of penalties. Got to clean that up. Didn't turn the ball over, though. That's a biggie. Michigan falls to 6. Maybe I could have them fall more. That was a bad beatdown from Texas. Texas is still upper echelon. Michigan is falling. See if they can get things fixed. Illinois moving up to number 7. They just beat the 19th ranked team of the country in Kansas. Great defensive effort there by Brett Bielema's team. Got the Washington Huskies at number 8. Will Rogers, 4 touchdown passes against Eastern Michigan last week. And I do like the running attack of the Huskies. They got Washington State this weekend. I think Oregon at Oregon State and Washington hosting Washington State at Lumen Field. I think those are 2 very interesting games because they're the 2 remaining teams still left in the Pac-12, Pac-2, whatever we're calling it, now taking on the teams that are now in the Big Ten, went off of greener pastures. Rutgers at number 9. I'd like to move them up. They start being some higher quality teams. They got the best running game in the Big Ten right now with Kyle Monangai. And got the Wisconsin Badgers at number 10. Got Alabama, though. We're going to see what they are made of this weekend. All right, here's the best of the rest. Michigan State got them on number 11, the 2-0. They beat FAU, and then that was an impressive win in which they were a 9.5-point underdog on the road at Maryland, and they won the game. 3 interceptions, though. Aiden Childs. We got to clean that up. Got the last-minute kick, though. That was a pretty good win. That was a quality win. Iowa at number 12. That was a kick in the gut losing to Iowa State this weekend like that. Started off good, and then I don't know what happened. Got too conservative again. Turned into a grinder. At number 13, the Maryland Terps, after that loss to Michigan State I told you about. Still waiting to see how Maryland still has a very favorable first half of the season schedule. At number 14, the Indiana Hoosiers, who, believe it or not, are favorites at the Rose Bowl on the road against UCLA. Opened up as -1.5. Now it's 3.5. That, by the way, is the Big Ten Saturday night game on NBC, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. And we at Locked On Big Ten are going to go live on our YouTube channel right after that game and talk about all the Big Ten teams, including that game. I'm predicting that'll be around 11 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Pacific. Purdue, do they have a chance at Notre Dame after Notre Dame lost this weekend at home? That's still shocking the college football world. Purdue coming off a bye, Notre Dame coming off a loss to Northern Illinois. Got UCLA at number 16. Maybe that will move them up a little higher if they beat Indiana. Northwestern trying to find themselves, can't score any touchdowns. I have Minnesota at 18. Maybe I should flip Minnesota and Northwestern, but Minnesota got a big win, but it was against an FCS team. We'll see if Max Brosmore is the answer at quarterback for the Golden Gophers moving forward. I'm very willing to move them up. But anyway, those are our power rankings at the middle of the week, going into a big weekend that'll feature Alabama, Wisconsin, and again, the Washington and Oregon taking on their regional rivals. Then Indiana at the Rose Bowl against UCLA and everything else in between. We will have it all talking about it here on Locked On Big Ten. But those are our power rankings. Let me know what you think. You always do. Twitter, X, @TalkBig10, number 10. Also on YouTube. Let's get it going back and forth. Your team versus their team. Let's get some comments going. And I look forward to all of those. And don't forget our website. You see the crawl on the bottom of the screen if you're watching on video, talkbig10.com. We put all of our podcasts there chronologically, including this one, and then we group it by whatever team we really focused on. We put it under their school's page, where you can also find great merchandise deals. Get yourself a brand new hat or t-shirt for your celebration of watching your favorite team right there, talkbig10.com. You will enjoy it. All right. In the meantime, subscribe, share, and follow. Love to have you as a subscriber. It's free. Always free. You can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We're going to focus on that Bama Badgers game on tomorrow's podcast, among all the other news going on in the Big Ten. So check that out. Check out another podcast if you're on our website of Locked On Big Ten. And after that, maybe a second listen with our friends from Locked On College Football. They're there every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find that on YouTube and wherever you get your favorite podcasts as well. That'll do it. Another episode in the books. I can't wait until we talk again tomorrow. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten. Talk to you next time.